If you watch the first part, aka Doom, you should know by now that Half-Life is regarded as another game that pushed the gaming industry. For a short taste of the lesson, in 1996, id Software, you know, the guys who made the small game called Doom, made a brand new game called Quake, running on the new and improved id Tech 2 engine. If you didn't know, Doom used the id Tech 1. id Software knew damn well that this engine will revolutionize gaming, so they continued with Quake series, mainly Quake 2 and Quake 3 Arena, with Quake 2 running on an updated version of id Tech 2 and Quake 3 running on id Tech 3. But that wasn't it. Few smaller game studios took those engines and decided that it's their turn. Which studios you're asking? Oh, just some small studios called Valve and Infinity Ward. With Valve making a completely new engine called Cold Source and Infinity Ward using, and I kid you not, the original Quake 3 engine to make Call of Duty. But we are not here for Call of Duty, we are here for Half-Life. Cold Source wasn't that different. The main difference is that id Tech 2 is written in C, meanwhile Cold Source uses C++. Cold Source handles textures and lighting a bit differently, and some smaller differences. Other than that, they are nearly similar, like the weapon visual recoil for example. But more on Quake and Half-Life later. Let's look at some cut content in Half-Life. In 1997, Valve released a private prototype of Half-Life. Wait, private? Oh yes, a private prototype. The only reason why we have it is because it leaked on Reddit 14 years later. To put that into perspective, CSGO just released and we barely got the 1997 version of Half-Life. There are official discs of this demo floating around, and for a CD it will cost you whopping $800. Anyways, let's look at the changes. In Half-Life you can meet a handful of friendly NPCs, mainly the science team consisting of Walter, Einstein, Luther, Slick, security guards being Barney and Otis, as well as Vorticons. But since Quake didn't have any team-based logic, the NPCs will be either neutral or hostile, meaning that they will never attack each other. In the prototype, the health cabinets are infinite. Meanwhile in the full game, they add from 25 to 100 health while being a single-use item. In the final game, you're not limited with the camera, well except for the 90 degrees up and down, but in Half-Life 1, this vertical camera is reduced to about 80 degrees. If you enjoy going on a genocide in Half-Life, be sure made use of the 3x multiplier headshot. But since Quake didn't have that, they do not have it in this build as well. Ladders used to be a lot funky too. They would tilt the camera from left and right and play a pain sound. If you don't have the 3DFX Voodoo GPU, then you cannot enjoy OpenGL. If you have it, then DM me on Discord and I will buy you a new modern GPU. Although a program called nGlide will allow you to emulate this horrible GPU, so you can enjoy OpenGL in all of its glory, or instead be a normal person and just use software rendering. But you would have to set your PC to 16 bits. If that wasn't enough, your operating system had to be Windows 8 or less. Wait no, fuck Windows 8, why am I even mentioning that? If that wasn't enough, your operating system had to be Windows 7 or less. The game of course ran in 4:3 aspect ratio, but you couldn't run it on anything higher than 800x600. If you set your config file to like 1024x762, then the game would simply crash. Hey, remember how buggy Doom saves are? Well, don't worry, cause this demo did it much worse. It didn't save anything besides your location, meaning enemies would respawn and puzzles would be reverted. The game had over 15 demos that span over 30 minutes. I'm not gonna show you all of those, but I will put a link in the description that shows all of them. The game already had a crosshair, but as you can see, Valve already has plans for Counter-Strike, so it isn't accurate at all. Skybox support didn't exist in this build, meaning all skies would be black. Have you missed Quake stuff? while the text that used to be displayed on top left instead of lower left. Also, any message would also display Half-Life by Valve LLC, probably to test offset. You can actually load up older maps in the new Half-Life, but this doesn't work vice versa, cause, you know. Quake time. You can also load these maps in Quake, although this time it won't look pretty. And a cherry on top for this subchapter, it ran on 1.07 version of Quake instead of 1.08. Gordon always didn't look like Walter White with hair.
Blood loss detected. Vital signs are dropping. Emergency. User death imminent.
As in the alpha, he had a flat top haircut with a full-grown beard, also he was fat as hell. In the files you can also find the same model, but green, yellow, red and blue. Hey, that sounds a bit familiar. Barney looked like he went through hell and back with blood on his trousers. His boots and sleeves look identical to the full release though. Voltra, other than having blood on his coat, looked pretty identical and faithful to his full release. But if you've been digging through early Half-Life screenshots, you can see that he looked even more different. Einstein, on the other hand, looked nearly identical. An unused scientist was called Egons was also present. Glad this guy didn't make the cut, cause I hate his face. But to hell with friendlies, we are here to shoot the bad guys. The head crab looked a bit different, with their head being a lump on it and being very red. And if you think the ones in full release aren't annoying enough, in this alpha they one-shot anything. Also, don't ask me why, but nearly all enemies have ass cheeks and assholes. Obviously I'm not gonna show it, but Cyberdemon has some competition now. The Hound Eye, that I never understood how it worked, also looked a bit different. They were also meant to be friendly. They of course have a low poly model, but the resolution of the textures looked a bit higher. A scrapped enemy called the Panther Eye was a reddish looking dog. Their AI wasn't fully implemented, the only thing they can do is walk, but they didn't know if they are friendly or hostile to the player. An employee at Valve of the time said that it was scrapped due to technical difficulties with its feet. It also had a blue variant, and yes, it also has cheeks. Hazardous Environment Combat Unit, aka HECU, surprisingly don't look that different. But instead of MP5s, they are using AR-15 with M203 underbarrel grenade launchers, instead of the cursed MP5s with underbarrel grenade launchers. Never understood why they have a white and green camo on them. But in the prototype, they are again much higher in quality. An unused HECU soldier called H-Sarge was in the game. It threw glass shards at you, but at the same time it didn't do anything. The concept art looked cool as shit though. There are also desert and olive version of the HECU soldier. Another scrapped HECU soldier is the Human Assault, aka the Chain Gunner. He made it all the way to the final game files, but it wasn't used. They weren't really an enemy, they were more like obstacles, but I'm still glad they were scrapped. The Vortigons look pretty close, but again, no AI, no animations beside their neck twitching. The Alien Grunt. And the alien tentacles have nearly no differences between themselves. But an unused enemy called the Tent Peak can be seen in the files. Probably was supposed to be the second part to the fight in the original blast pit. In my opinion, it kinda looks like Plantera from Terraria. The bull squid, even though being weirdly colored, look and behave pretty much the same as in the release version. Barnacles and head crab zombies aren't present though. I'm not gonna go through levels cause, you know, that would take too much time, and instead move on to the next subchapter. The texture files are pretty uninteresting. Can you guess what some of the textures are? If you said erratic calendars, Einstein, the Nagasaki bombing and some children, then you would be correct. Also there's this weird texture that I cannot even say what it is. Anyways, sounds. The HECU, the sounds was taken from Judgment Day Part 2 Episode 1 Season 4.
You dead! You hear me? Dead! You guys put me on a plane! You dead! You hear me? Dead!
Cover me! Squad, form up! Blast 'em!
Panther Eyes, the pistol, the MP5, which was also supposed to be suppressed, the player in Half-Life doesn't do any sounds, but the number keys had this in the alpha.
Yeah! Let me hear you say it one more time.
The chat beep, security guards,
Freeze!
Freeze!
and also in the game files, it has the Quake secret found sound. Now to shoot all those enemies, you need some guns. This alpha only had 3, the Glock, MP5, and of course the crowbar. Although the weapons are super weak, taking about 10 shots to kill a single headcrab. The MP5 grenade launcher doesn't one-shot you, and the spread is a lot tighter. The Glock is nearly identical, besides having an animation for firing, which doesn't have the weapon slide going back and forth, and also Gordon held it in his right hand instead of having the two-handed grip. The spread though used to be a lot bigger. Crowbar only a small model change. The HUD was very different, with damage indicator being green instead of red, and for some reason, software renderer and OpenGL had a different HUD. The weapon selection looked a bit different. The menu is clearly a reskinned Quake. Explosion being more of a smoke than a big fireball. Bullet tracers being a lot more common, and as a cherry on top, some Quake leftovers. Phew, that was a heap of stuff to go through, so let's move on to another build. Half-Life Day 1 was a pre-release demo that was released in 1998 and bundled with sponsored graphics cards, so let's get into it. A few chapters in this version were different than the released one. Blast Pit was Screams and Whispers, Power Up was Footfall, Apprehension was Abandoned Silo, Residue Processing was Chutes and Ladders, Forget About Freeman was You're on Your Own, and Lambda Core was Down and Out. A weird oversight is present in this build, but a nerd break. In games, when you reload, the game inside calculates how much ammo should be added to your magazine, then takes it from your reserve ammo, and all those numbers changes after the animation is done. But here, once you press the reload, it would instantly take the ammo from your reserve ammo, then play the animation, and then your magazine with ammo will be replenished. Barnacles are finally in the game, but you still cannot look up. Amazing. OpenGL has a weird bug where it would turn your pistol transparent. Auto-aim is in the game, which you cannot turn off, most likely because of the barnacles. Office Complex had a weird glitch where if you saved after entering the chapter and then loaded into that save at any point, the game would crash. Piči. Seru na to. A, crashlo mi to. Yep. Aha, jo, takže apartment complex crashuje. The crowbar was finally finished, and the pistol had a bug where if you picked up the pistol without having any reserve ammo and you switched to another weapon, then you cannot equip the pistol until you find some reserve ammo for it. Also, the pistol has no reloading sound. The shotgun was implemented with a much higher quality than the final game and having synchronized audio. The MP5's grenade launcher was pretty weird. And you can hold up to 25 grenades, but you cannot cook them, so they are borderline useless. The RPG was supposed to be based off the RPG-7 rather than the ARM-based ATW rocket launcher. The revolver doesn't exist yet, and there's a weapon called the 0-point generator. The battery looked a lot different. The long jump module is just a red battery. And then some smaller ammo capacity changes that are pretty negligible. Here are some unused animations for the Vorticon, where it could have been grabbed by a barnacle. An animation where G-Man would run if you shot him. Uciekaj, picio! Uciekaj! Uciekaj, picio! Uciekaj! I think Valve tried to portray him as a regular human rather than an alien. The HECU soldiers were a lot more interested in killing you rather than the scientists. The guards, they were supposed to have martial arts animation. The player also had a choice between two characters called Gina and Gordon. This was purely cosmetical though. Some enemies had different statistics from the final game. And other than the map changes, this is it for Half-Life Day 1, so let's look at another build. We are gonna skip build 722, 725 and uplink since they are mostly just network tests and minimal changes. But here are some interesting changes. The glue-on gun had an actual use for the right click. And here we are, modern day Half-Life. Excluding the update that added some older features to the game, the jump toad was supposed to be used as a weapon. We don't know what happened after you threw it, but it's theorized that they would work like snarks. The suppressed pistol is in the game alongside animations of the suppressor being attached. The revolver had a speed loader item, adrenaline that revived the player after 3 seconds if you weren't chipped, the antidote, which was supposed to cure you of some status effects that lingered for longer, a radiation canister, we don't know if it cured radiation poisoning or made you immune to radiation, chain ammo, which gave you 200 bullets once you picked it up, wink wink, a flare, another item that we don't know how it worked, isotope box, most likely a tau gun or glow-on gun ammo box, the oxygen tank, which gave you 30 more seconds of oxygen when underwater and would explode once shot. In the released game, it's of course broken. It was later remodeled to be the long jump module. A security card and some miscellaneous items. There are then some unused voice lines from the HEV suit, shit tons of announcement voice lines, security guard voice lines, scientist voice lines, an extended version of G-Man's monologue if you refuse to deal, an unfragmented version of his speech, which I'm not gonna play. And that brings us to the end of this video. This video was a total nightmare to make since I wanted to use the rotating 3D models from the model subchapter. The source IO add-on totally carried this video though, I must say that. But from the alpha, you couldn't import those models, meaning I had to texture them one by one, which was pretty amazing. Then when I had the full renders, I realized I wasn't using the shaders and oh my god, I was not very happy about that. Anyways, thank you for watching this video and I will see you in the next one.